How's it going? How's everybody doing? Essential Notes, back talking fragrance with you guys once again. And today I'm going to be going over a fragrance from a house that sadly got shut down. And the house is Broken Anatomy. They were based out of Arizona. The perfumer and kind of founder was Ryan Handis. And if you guys know, Broken Anatomy and Ryan actually perfumes one of my favorite fall fragrances. It's always in my top 5 favorite fall fragrances, and that's Burnt Remedy. And I think he perfumes now one of my favorite spring fragrances, which is Pages and Dreams. Now, I know we're into summer, but this fragrance does well in the spring, and I wore it just recently, and it holds up to the heat. Like I said, the brand was based out of Arizona, so I think Ryan naturally builds stuff that can hold up to heat. I remember wearing this when I was in Arizona after he blessed me with this bottle. And we were out, spending a day out and about in Scottsdale. Oh my gosh, I sound like my Canadian wife. Out and about. But anyways, we were kind of kicking around Scottsdale, and back in 2022, I think it was, and they had just broken the record for the most days over 100 degrees consecutively or something like that. And so we were in hot heat, and it held up. I think it did like roughly 6.5 almost 7 hours out in the heat. And anyways, Pages and Dreams, just to kind of tell you a little bit about it. It is I call it an Osmanthus fragrance. I do have a little bit of experience with a few Osmanthus fragrances. I've gotten my nose on a few, and I get the gist of kind of what people try to do with that floral when they're really trying to feature it or highlight it. It gets complemented well with a lot of people bring almond in because there's an almond like facet to Osmanthus sometimes. I think Osmanthus can go a few different ways. Some people bring in apricot, others peach, but this is hands down my favorite Osmanthus fragrance. There's no question. I think other people tried to do kind of what Ryan did here, but fell maybe a little short. I feel like Ryan really nailed it with this one, and I just want to kind of give him a shout out. So a little bit, here's the bottle there. Cool bottles. Their other bottles are more like cube like but tall, and then they have the label that wraps around the corner. So this was a little bit of a different bottle for them. Their caps are cool. They're heavy metal, almost like a brain bullet. And then I love the placard that matches there. The cap holds up. Atomizer, legit. And this scent, man, it's beautiful. So it is a floral. So if you're like a floral head or you're in the florals and Osmanthus is one of the flowers you like, this will be right up your alley. I think people that aren't necessarily floral heads will appreciate it. It is a great scent. It doesn't have a ton of sillage. It's not gonna create a trail that will, people 10 feet behind you will be smelling it by any means, but it does provide a magnificent scent bubble, which I enjoyed, like I said, like a majority of the day, 6 to 7 hours. Was kind of in there. It might have even went over a little bit of 7 hours. But we'll jump into the notes. So the notes are peach, osmanthus, lavender, floral notes, immortelle, opopanax, and musk. What I get here is I get this ripe, fuzzy peach. And if you can imagine, like, it's not like you're biting into it because it's not juicy, but you do get a ripeness and that peach skin. And then it feels like maybe, I don't know what osmanthus looks like, but I imagine the floral petals coming up and wrapping around that peach. And that's how complementary these notes work together in unison. And that's kind of what I was hinting at when I feel like others fell short. I've smelt people that have tried to couple it with apricot and some other facets or notes. And it feels like these two notes just go so hand in hand that that's the image I get of the Osmanthus petals wrapping around the peach. It really is like this hand in glove type fit. It's perfect. Then if you can imagine, at the top there's this kiss of lavender that just gives this fresh vibe to it, like a really almost like a fresh breeze that hovers above that kind of the Osmanthus and the peach. And then obviously he says other floral notes. I don't know what those include. He mentions E.A.R.L. Now I'll be the first to admit I don't have no idea what E.A.R.L. smells like. It's one of the florals that I've not done a deep dive into yet, or even focused on it. I need to, but I wonder if E.A.R.L. has a little bit of like a musky type of quality. Either that, or I mean, he has musk listed, so he has a really nice musk that kind of fills out this scent, and I wonder if the E.A.R.L. kind of really accompanies that musk and assists in kind of the filling out of this fragrance. And then he mentions Opopanax, and it feels like there's moments where you can get hints of the Opopanax kind of almost that bubble up in the top, and then it's obviously evident in the base. Yeah, as far as like how this doesn't have a lot of crazy transitions. To me, all it did was it just kind of softened and eased out as time went, and it's already a beautiful, man. If I had to describe it as a work of art, this would be like a watercolor. And then if you can imagine a watercolor, just kind of or a shot of a, I work in film and video, so I think visually. If you can imagine like a watercolor, and then the camera just starts blurring out, and those lines become more blurred, and they cross over, and it becomes softer, and they fade into one another. It feels like that's what this does as it approaches dry down. It's a gorgeous scent. Sadly, the brand's not around anymore. I think you can still find a couple of their perfumes at I think it's Dior Prestige, which is a niche retailer out of LA, I think, and you could check them out. But if you ever run across this on the secondary market, buy it up. It's well worth it. Like I said, floral heads I think will absolutely love it. I think that even if you're not, you could really appreciate this, and I feel like it's very unisex. It would smell remarkably attractive on a woman, but I do think that there's some really confident men that could wear this and really enjoy it, like especially like if they're men that are floral heads or whatever. But yeah, I would definitely try to keep an eye out for that. I just know that Ryan kind of, life took him in a different direction. He had to shut the brand down, or he chose to shut it down, and he's super talented, but I'm wishing him the best. I'm hoping that he's doing well, and I just want to share that with you guys. Have you guys tried Pages and Dreams? If you have, let me know what you think. And did you have a similar experience to mine, or what was your experience? And also, this is a fairly new channel, so if you can like, comment, subscribe, and share this video to help the channel grow, it would be greatly appreciated. And until next time, peace.